11th of May 2022, presidential frontrunner Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. announced that if elected, top vice presidential candidate Sara Duterte Carpio will serve as Secretary of the Department of Education. Marcos believes in Duterte Carpio's ability to be in the position since she is a mother who wants her children to be well-trained and well-educated. Meanwhile, Department of Education Secretary Leonor Briones praised Marcos' decision, stating that the DepEd family is ready to collaborate with Duterte Carpio's team to ensure a smooth transition of leadership. Marcos confirmed that Sara Duterte accepted the offer to be the DepEd secretary, and according to Duterte, she accepted the offer because she can help the country create skilled learners. However, some groups opposed Marcos Jr.'s appointment to Sara Duterte, which is the most pressing topic in this case. Is Sara Duterte Carpio truly qualified to be the Department of Education next official secretary? No, she is not. There are several reasons for this, and a few of them will be tackled one by one. First, let us have Ms. Paula Joahna Dayao.
Sara Duterte is not qualified to be the next official secretary of the Department of Education because there is a high chance that she will revise the history because of the presumptive president-elect Bongbong Marcos and her father, President Rodrigo Duterte. Many people know that the late President Marcos Sr., father of Bongbong Marcos, did some crucial work during his presidency, especially during the martial law, wherein many people were tortured, went missing, and killed during his time. President Rodrigo Duterte also did some crucial work on the anti-drugs, wherein many people died because of the accusations. Sara Duterte can revise the history written in the books, making it look like the martial law is the golden era of the Philippines, and making his father innocent from all those work, making people believe the revised chronology. Now moving forward to Ms. Eunise Gonzales.
So thank you, Ms. Paula Joahna Dayao. So secondly, to history revision, another point to make would be regarding Sara Duterte's future education reforms when it comes to the Department of Education as appointed secretary. Over the years, DepEd has remained consistent when it comes to officiated programs and project beneficiaries for the young, and they were able to promote proper guidance and career growth among groups of individuals varying in different educational levels, and continuous learning was implemented through the course of the pandemic as well. To be elected as soon-to-be Vice President of the Philippines simply means that the power to reform education is high in terms of political capital, and that the responsibility on her part would be doubled as well. The downside of this is having someone else take over a very powerful education system, yet lacks the qualities and knowledge of handling it. As the Alliance of Concerned Teachers, or ACT, Secretary General Raymond Basilio stated, Sara Duterte has no background in education and has never been an educator. We need an education chief who has a good grasp of the situation and a clear vision of how to salvage and raise the quality of education. She is not it. At the same time, in our second picture, teachers themselves have been rejecting Sara Duterte as an education secretary since she has no recognition of these issues and has no such background of addressing these. The current situation revolves around that statement wherein Sara Duterte wishes to re-implement the Reserve Officers Training Corps, or ROTC, which will serve as mandatory for all individuals who are 18 years old. If this were to be the case, then it is best not to go through with it. Considering opinions from the students as well as teachers, and considering the case of Mark Wilson Chua, a University of Santo Tomas student, was murdered for exposing the alleged corruption within his ROTC unit. Chua wrote a tell-all expose in February 2001 with the university's official student publication, The Varsitarian. The piece was entitled Struggle Against the System, so it is safe to say that DepEd should not be the place where one may resort to violence, trauma, or abuse. In changing education, it should be rather about enhancing and bringing about essential teachings or values from events of the past, re-establishing Filipino culture, and strengthening skills from different aspects of oneself instead of prioritizing and pushing young ones to the military rather than letting them pursue their own dreams at their own pace. As for our third and final argument, here we have Ms. Trisha Angela Garcia.
Due to DepEd's inept handling of the crisis, many students attempted suicide, particularly at St. Louis University in Baguio. He died according to unverified reports as a result of severe workloads and unknown DepEd intentions. Until date, the issue of addressing educational issues has remained unsolved. The Vice President-elect Sara Duterte intensified the limelight on this specific topic, causing a lot of students' belief and integrity in the next administration to start crumbling. Disciplinary measures under the Marcos Duterte regime would simply dissuade students and make them more repressive, as they would sanitize the atrocities of the two previous dominant administrations, urging them to shut their voices and serve as the regime's sycophant. Sara Duterte has no prior experience teaching or managing pupils. It may be unmanageable and daunting for her to execute the dual roles of the Vice President of the Philippines and Secretary of the Department of Education. The major issues that students face will not be rectified if she continues to argue that ROTC can be used as a disciplinary tool which would just condone abuses and injustices. It is much better if she called another who can really regulate the role of a DepEd secretary. According to ACT, or also known as the Alliance of Concerned Teachers, the country needs leadership that understands the country's learning dilemma, the dire quality of education, teachers' chronic underpayment, and the country's grasp of history and understanding of reality. Groups eloquently stated that the issue of discipline cannot be answered by submitting our youth to a militarist training that is known to abuse and murder its own cadets through hazing and is known for human rights abuses which we have experienced. Disciplining students is not through any military service, as it will not be as effective as it will be. As Lito Atienza, running under the Promdi party, said, rather than giving them military training, we should strengthen their civic consciousness and capability to respond to problems that affect the nation and Filipinos in general. It is not only the military service that is expected to be used to discipline the youth if they adopt this strategy under Sara Duterte's lead. There are numerous different techniques to impart discipline to young people. DepEd would be back to square one in this regard, restoring only the recalcitrant and exploitative pupils who would increase the rate of criminality among the youth under her authority. Another point to consider is that while discipline can be taught, it is ultimately up to the individual to put it into practice. If she is elected as the Secretary of Education, it will be harmful or unsafe for our country's youths, as her plans are completely disconnected from the essential needs of the youth, which are education and decent employment. Discipline and patriotism are not easily acquired by trudging on the ground while wielding a wooden rifle. Sara Duterte is completely unsuitable to become the next Secretary of Education, as she will exploit the youth to reintroduce militarism and discipline them to keep them under control and prohibit them from voicing out against the oppressive and tyrannical regime, allowing their dynasty to gain power and wealth. For the summary and conclusion, here is Ms. Yasmien Escalante.
Thank you, Trisha. Now, let's proceed to the summary and conclusion. Considering all the reasons indicated, this provided clear insights into why the presumptive Vice President Sara Duterte will not help the youth's major problems. Implementing ROTC for discipline and keeping them under control will only encourage abuse as well as injustices. Sara is completely unfit for the position of DepEd's next official secretary because she has no educational background. preventing the youth from speaking out against the oppressive and tyrannical regime, allowing their dynasty to gain power and wealth. Instead of pushing young people into the military, education should be about enhancing essential teachings or values from the past, re-establishing Filipino culture, and strengthening skills from various aspects of oneself.
So that is all regarding our stand on Sara Duterte's position as Secretary of the Department of Education. Once again, we are the Group 5. Thank you for listening, and to God be the glory.